Hey, this is Kynan once again from Silver Tiger Media, and I have the absolute pleasure of being joined by a rock and roll icon from Scandinavia, Kenny Leckramo from H.E.A.T. How are you?
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure.
Awesome. So this is the first ever Australian tour coming up for H.E.A.T. Now, of course, in 2008, your first record, you sung about walking 1,000 miles. Now you're about to travel damn near 9,000 of them to come down
Yeah,
under. How are you all feeling? What are you most excited for down here?
I mean, we are. How can I put this into words? I mean, we are just incredibly excited about the opportunity of taking our music and travel with it so far to the other side of the world. I mean, it's a dream come true. You know, it really is.
Uh, Absolutely. Has it been overwhelming at all for your music to just reach such lengths and corners of the world?
Well, I mean, of course, it's we're incredibly thankful, and we are just it's one of those things, when you come up in a fairly small city like Stockholm, and then you don't know what future will hold, and to be able to like come down and play a tour in Australia for someone who comes out of Stockholm and is in a band, it's something that you just would not imagine, not in a million years. So, for us to come down to Australia for the first time and be able to, travel, like I said, to the other side of the world with our music is a goddamn, we're living the dream. We really are.
Absolutely. And I think we're just excited to see you guys. And of course, you're bringing along rock starlet Casti Paris, who, from what I can tell, from what I know, is a massive fan of yours. How did that come about, having her in the fold for the tour?
Well, to be honest, I mean, we really love what she does. I mean, it's super cool. But I think that in this case, we worked closely together with our promoter, and they pretty much sorted all that good stuff out for us. They made the right choices and the right decisions, and we are incredibly happy about being able to have her joining us for our shows in Australia. I mean, it's a really cool fit.
Beautiful. And I'm sure she would be just as excited, I guess, and
Yeah.
just overwhelmed, and that to be joining you guys, it must be absolute breathtaking
I
experience.
mean, it's very cool for anyone, really. I think the feeling is always mutual. When you, like I said now so many times, it sounds like a broken record, but when you travel across continents like that, and you get to hook up and play with with different bands and different artists, and sort of get you kind of, it's life enriching in a way, right? I mean, you sort of get together with people that you normally wouldn't.
Of course, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
uh Back earlier in August, you released Force Majeure upon returning to Heat yourself
Yes.
as frontman. How did that feel to, no pun intended, get back to the rhythm and return with such a powerful record?
Well, I mean, it's something that we always wanted to do. I mean, we definitely we never knew what was going to happen. I certainly could not have foreseen, coming back to Heat. But like making Force Majeure was something that we kind of always wanted to do. It's a bit of a, it's an album that we wanted to make that we never got the chance to make back in the day. So for us to have the opportunity to make an album together again, and for me to come back to Heat, it's just fantastic. I mean, we are, all of us, we're really happy about that. We're super excited about the fact that we've got some new music out. But like I said, the fact that we got to make another album together and many more to come is awesome.
That's awesome. And you mentioned you wanted to create and release this record as well. Do you feel that the track list and the record sort of produced and grew organically as well, or did you sort of have a set plan from the start?
No, I mean, it definitely was something that grew organically through the process. Some of the bits and pieces were kind of, maybe some of it was from an older time. Things are like that. When you write music, it's so difficult to put a finger on, the kind of things that you either take inspiration from earlier work that you've done, or things that you've written in the past. But I would say in general for the album, most of the stuff that you hear is things that were written pretty much, organically for the album Force Majeure. So that's very special, and I think it's very cool to be able to do that, and also say that that it's an album of the time.
Of course, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Could you talk to me about the title Force Majeure and what it means?
Well, like I just mentioned, an album of the time. So the name, is inspired by, the situation, of course, that the world kind of went through. Whether it was in the music business, for us as a band, changing singers, just all of it at once, kind of coming together, and then on top of that, like during the whole album process and making the album, we kept coming back to this kind of the term, the meaning, force. For some reason, that just kept coming back all the time, like through the recording process, and eventually, I think a couple of us was just like, God damn it, we got to call this Force Majeure. Like, it just, everything about it just has that. And so we didn't linger around, linger about. We just, we called it Force Majeure quite early on, and we stuck to it. And I think it's a great title for the album.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Like, especially what you said about when it was created and just everything that the world sort of went through during and beforehand,
Yeah.
and still what it's going through now. It couldn't be a
Yes.
more sort of perfect representation of that.
Yeah.
Your material as a whole, still on sort of just the music writing and all that, especially in your earlier material, you drew heavily from that classic 80s rock sound with
Yeah.
powerfully angelic vocals and ear melting riffs, and even the incorporation of some synths that you always heard back in the 80s. Where did
Yeah.
you draw that inspiration from? Was there anywhere specific?
Well, I mean, to tell you the truth, like, I mean, when we started out, all of us practically, when we created H.E.A.T, it's like most of us, we're a bunch of guys heavily inspired by like heavy metal, hard rock, listen to all of the classic, bands that you're very familiar with. And then kind of when in the early days of H.E.A.T, we listened a lot to, we kind of discovered that sort of AOR-ish type sounds, Survivor, Journey, or different, even some some softer types of rock music that for example, Yngwie Malmsteen was putting out, or different kinds of bands towards the late 80s. And honestly, it had a huge influence on us. West Coast music from America, like Giant, and a bunch of stuff, just really influenced us in that moment. So I guess that album, like the early stuff that we made, that's a that's a kind of accurate representation of what we were inspired by at the time and wanted to sort of explore. But we were always, I would say, more of a hard rock type of a band. It's just that I think now the music kind of matches that a bit better in a way.
Of course. And you personally, whether it was growing up or during your time with H.E.A.T, was there
Yeah.
any inspirations, even outside of the rock and roll genre, that you really drew from?
Well, of course. I mean, when I started listening to music, when I really kind of made it personal in a way, music, I listened a lot to artists like Michael Jackson, and you've got some other kind of influences in there, lots of soul and you know, kind of like a different kind. Like I, it's hard for me to explain exactly what I was listening to at the time, because it was kind of my parents who who introduced me to music, right? So, and they listened a lot to that type of music from the 80s, you know, the sort of pop oriented music. But you know, it wasn't until I was in my early teens when I kind of discovered bands like Iron Maiden, you know, and really made it my own.
Of course, I think that's very relatable for a lot of people, especially
Yeah.
when you're young and you've got your family or your parents that sort of you're automatically put into an environment where that stuff is audible and you sort of
Oh
take that
yeah.
on while growing up and then you just start discovering your own stuff. So that's really awesome.
Yeah.
Back to you personally, I'll throw you under the bus a little bit. I found out you're also a drummer as well. At least you
Yeah.
started off drumming. How did you go? How did those worlds of drumming and singing collide, and how did you transfer into a
Well,
vocalist from that?
to further like, you know, to dig a little deeper there, I touched on the fact that I discovered Iron Maiden. So basically I must have been around 12, 13 years old. And you know, I was at a friend's house and we put the coolest looking vinyl on. I'd never really done that before. Put the coolest looking vinyl on, and it happened to be the first album of Iron Maiden. And when those guitars came alive and the drumming and everything, you know, I just got incredibly inspired. I don't even know what inspired was a thing, you know, when I was that young, like anyone else. But I just wanted to sort of get with the rhythm and the groove of it. So I just kind of started playing drums. And then little by little, you know, I eventually met, you know, some of the guys that I later ended up creating H.E.A.T with. And they basically were part of the people that, you know, started to basically make me transfer to become a lead singer, because I was sitting behind the drums and I was basically couldn't find a vocalist to sing the stuff that I really wanted to play. So I ended up singing most of it from behind the drums. And then the guys were like, "Hey, Kenny, why don't you just grab the mic and just do that? You know, let someone else play the drums." So that's basically how it happened.
Could we potentially see a little surprise cover or something in a future gig or tour where you jump behind the kit and the mic?
Oh, probably. I mean, most definitely. I think it's just a matter of time. I mean, my hands, they burn with the desire to get behind the drums. Like every time I'm in the rehearsal space with the guys or whatever, and yeah, I see Crash's kit, I almost always run up to it and start, you know, chomping away.
Nice. Yeah, awesome. Awesome. I totally get what you mean being a bass player
Yeah.
myself. It's just
Yeah.
you get once you start with something, especially if you have a passion for it, you just can't really stop going back to it.
No, but
Uh,
but it's also, you know, the other thing is that when you're a singer, it's like you know, but you're at the same time you're a musician, and you like to play instruments. It's like it's just part of who you are. You just want to express that some way, you know, whether it's like playing guitar or bass or drums, whatever it is that you know draws your attention.
Of course, yeah, no, absolutely. I wanted to finally talk about. I'm a huge fan of Scandinavian culture as a whole, and obviously Sweden being the birthplace of Heat.
Yeah.
That's definitely a country where a lot of beautiful art and music came from.
Mm.
Was there any of that sort of music and culture that was any of it some inspiration that you incorporated into Heat's music?
Well, I mean, definitely. How can you? I mean, it's like how can you escape the incredible success? You know, not just factual success, but also like the sound and the music that comes out. You know, in the shape of, for example, Europe. You know, like I mean, it's such a great band with fantastic songs, and the same goes for, you know, like anything like ABBA. You know, it's the same thing. And I think ABBA, for example, they influenced the whole generation, you know, which in turn influenced a bunch of songwriters, and whether it's pop music or rock music, whatever. I mean, it's like you got a bunch of these big acts that come out of Sweden, but you know, in our case, specifically Europe, you know, of course, is very fitting because to us, I mean, it's like, you know, when you listen to melodic rock, any in any shape or form, you know, Europe really stands out as one of the greats. And as it happens, our band H.E.A.T, we're from the same like town, like suburb of Stockholm. So you know, it was bound to happen. We were going to be inspired by Europe.
Absolutely. I feel like Europe's a very sort of prime example of music and how to turn art into music. So that's absolutely awesome to hear.
Yeah.
Kenny, thank you so much for joining me for this interview. It's an
Oh,
absolute
thank
pleasure
you.
talking to you, and I
Yeah, equal, man. I feel the
absolutely
same.
thank you very much, and absolutely can't wait to see you guys very soon.
Yeah, I mean, it's for us, it's just incredible. You know, it's an incredible opportunity, like I said, to be able to come down to Australia and see all of you guys down there. You know, meet the fans, be able to play our music live as it should be. You know, and to share these moments together. I mean, it's just going to be fantastic.
I can absolutely assure you we will be all there moshing right with you.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I don't expect anything less.
Of course, absolutely. Thank you so much, Kenny, for joining me.
Thank you, man. Well,
All
I'll see
right.
you soon then.
Hell yeah, no worries. I'll see you when you're down under. Awesome.
Yeah, yeah, awesome, man. All right, take
All
care.
right. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.